What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today we are going to be previewing the Giants' Week 1 matchup with the Washington Commanders. I can't wait. It's just a couple of days away, and today we are going to look at the film, preview this matchup, and take a look at Deonte Banks in coverage versus Terry McLaurin last season. I have every target that McLaurin received in coverage with Deonte Banks against him from 2024. We're going to go ahead and go through all of these plays, see what we can take away and what we can preview for this Week 1 matchup. Now, Cordell Flott is expected to get the majority of the starting reps at CB2, but Banks will be out there, and I just kind of want to take a look at Deonte Banks, how he stacked up against Washington last year, and preview my expectations for him going into 2025. So let's waste no more time, and let's go ahead and dive right into the film. So on this first play, the Giants are going to be running a cover one man coverage. You're going to see Deonte Banks here at the top of the screen in press man coverage against Terry McLaurin. It's going to be man coverage across the board, essentially, with that single deep safety. And right here, Bobby Okereke, he's actually going to be playing man coverage technically on the quarterback. He's going to be sitting in this small zone called a quarterback spy, roaming the middle of the field and waiting for Daniels to take off. But he is going to help on this play with Deonte Banks and almost make the pass breakup. But what you're going to get here from the Commanders, Terry McLaurin is just going to run a quick slant to the middle of the field. In this man coverage, you have Deonte Banks one-on-one on an island here. This is a really difficult position for any cornerback to be, especially when matched up against Terry McLaurin, who is one of the best receivers in the NFL. So he's going to let up a reception here, but honestly, if you watch the play roll through, this is not a bad rep by any means for Deonte Banks. He is right there on Terry McLaurin. I mean, this is tight coverage. He's right on his shoulders. The ball comes in. It's just a perfectly placed and well-timed throw and a great catch from McLaurin. Now, you'll see it from this other angle as well, where Deonte Banks, once again, he is there to make the play. He just doesn't close out quite fast enough, but he's on Terry McLaurin's shoulder. I'm not going to call this a negative rep for Deonte Banks or even a loss. I think this is a neutral, if anything. It's tight coverage. He just didn't close out quite fast enough, but things like this are going to happen when you're matching up against Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. So I think this is a fine rep. There's Okereke in that quarterback spy trying to help out here. But essentially, quick slant, man-beating route, and Deonte Banks does let up a reception, but this is not an entirely bad rep by Deonte Banks. Now, on this next play, the Giants are going to be running a cover 3 zone defense here. So you're going to have these 3 deep zone defenders, and you're going to have sideline defenders here, sideline defender. Actually, I think this guy, yeah, he's going to be the sideline defender, and you're going to have a couple of guys in the middle of the field. That's the coverage that the Giants are going to be playing. Now, for the Washington Commanders, they're going to have Terry McLaurin running this backside dig. And what you're going to see here is a tremendous play made in coverage by Deonte Banks. So once again, looking at the coverage, you've got the sideline covered here with this defender. This middle safety is really deep, and you've got this other deep third here. What happens is the linebacker, Micah McFadden, is going to bite down on this shallow crosser and open up all of this space in the middle of the field. Now, this is a vulnerability in this zone defense, and this is technically not Deonte Banks' zone to run into. He is playing this deep third in case McLaurin goes deep or whatever. But Deonte Banks notices this vulnerability in the Giants defense, and rather than sticking just to his zone, he's going to man match here on Terry McLaurin and stick with him on this backside dig and make a tremendous break on the ball to break up the pass and force an incompletion. This is a really, really good rep from Deonte Banks once again, because when you're looking at this, technically this route is ran into Bobby Okereke's zone here in the middle, but Banks recognizes it, sticks with Terry McLaurin, and as you'll see from the second angle here, his closeout on this was tremendous. It's very similar to that last tight window throw that we just saw, but this time Banks right on McLaurin's shoulder and does stretch that arm out far enough to get his hand on it and break up the pass. So this was a really, really impressive rep here by Deonte Banks. Now on this next rep, the Giants are going to be playing a very soft man coverage defense here. Once again, in this cover 2 man coverage, but you're going to see how far off these cornerbacks are playing, and that's because they're playing a sticks defense, essentially dropping back into a soft man and playing the sticks. The line to gain is all the way back here, and that's why you see all of these defenders pretty much drop to that length and just sit on these routes. What you want to do here in this coverage situation is essentially just allow McLaurin to make the catch, but have quick enough closeout speed to tackle him. That's the idea behind this sticks defense. You're going to sit back, let everything be given up in front of you, and close out to make the tackle. And that's what you'll see here, except this is actually going to be an incompletion on an inaccurate throw here from Jaden Daniels. But even if this was accurate, the idea here is throw this to Terry McLaurin on this quick curl route that he ran, this inside hook, let him catch it, and then turn upfield. But then it's just a one-on-one. Essentially, you need Deonte Banks to make that tackle. And this ends up being an incompletion because the ball is thrown essentially into the dirt. Not a great throw from Jaden Daniels. He's a little off balance when he makes it. But I like Deonte Banks' coverage here. He sat at the sticks and soft man, and he did close out quickly. Even if McLaurin caught this ball, I like Deonte Banks' coverage and think he would have been able to make this tackle with some pretty good closeout speed on this rep. So this is another solid rep for Deonte Banks, and that's 2 straight incompletions to Terry McLaurin with Deonte Banks in coverage. So seeing a pretty good outing here out of Deonte Banks in week 2 of last season. Now, in this next play, the Giants are once again going to be running a sticks defense. You see this deep line to gain, and that's why the cornerbacks are playing so far off. Deonte Banks is about 10 yards off of the line of scrimmage, giving Terry McLaurin a lot of space. Now, pre-snap, this does look like it's going to be cover 2 based on the shell with the 2 deep safeties, but this is actually going to end up being a cover 3, where this free safety ends up dropping down into the box. And then you're going to have these cornerbacks playing deep thirds here with these outside guys playing the sidelines. Now, what's different about this rep versus the last one? Yes, Deonte Banks is playing way farther off, but he's actually going to get beat here essentially on a man-beating out route from Terry McLaurin. McLaurin's going to run this thing to the sticks and break it outside and create a lot of separation and space on this route. So he's going to end up making the catch just at the line to gain. This is really good timing on the throw as well. If you see the anticipation from Jaden Daniels, that ball is out, and Terry McLaurin has just barely started to turn his head around. Banks is way far off. He's sitting a little bit too far back and probably was playing a little bit too great inside. I think he cheated inside, probably anticipating another backside dig or maybe a post from Terry McLaurin. But McLaurin stems this thing towards the inside with his release and then breaks it quickly off to the outside and ends up making the catch for a big first down. So this is not a good rep here from Deonte Banks. This one is one that he would certainly like to have back. But again, what you're seeing here is that cover 3. You saw that safety drop, and then it just puts Deonte Banks essentially on an island playing that deep third on the sideline. But McLaurin, good route runner and a great receiver, and a really great anticipatory throw here from Jaden Daniels. Deonte Banks gives this one up and surrenders. Honestly, a pretty ugly completion to Terry McLaurin. But Banks does bounce back on this next clip. I think this is a really tremendous job here from him. So what you're getting from the Giants, once again, is this cover 2 man coverage defense that they were running a lot in this game. I think they have a blitzing nickel cornerback here as well. But what you're going to see from Deonte Banks, if you watch him at the top of your screen, he's pretty much playing this like a safety. His eyes are on Jaden Daniels. So watch as this play begins. As soon as Jaden gets the snap, he turns his head and gets ready to throw this screen pass. Now, you can see Deonte Banks has his eyes locked in on Jaden Daniels and recognizes, okay, this is a screen. It's time to start closing out. He immediately crashes down on this play, gets engaged with this blocker here, this blocking slot receiver, but disengages and forces Terry McLaurin out of bounds for a very short gain of 2 yards. Really physical there at the point of contact as well to fight off that blocker and make this play. This is where Deonte Banks really shines. He is a big cornerback, 6'2", ran 4.3 speed. He's a physical specimen, and he's very strong. That's why he projects so well as a great outside cornerback in this league, although other things have held him back from reaching his potential. But this is really good read and react coverage defense here from Deonte Banks, keeping his eyes on the quarterback, reacting as soon as that quarterback goes to throw this screen, and as soon as he winds back to throw, if you see Deonte Banks is already crashing down. Now he's engaged. Now he disengages and makes a great tackle for a short gain here on the screen pass to Terry McLaurin. So that's going to wrap up the film on week 2, Giants versus Commanders, Deonte Banks versus Terry McLaurin. In my opinion, this was a great matchup for McLaurin and for Deonte Banks. I thought Banks really handled himself well in that week 2 matchup. Now, this week 9 matchup, not quite as much, but in week 2, if you guys remember, the Giants were in that game. The season was still fresh, and Banks hadn't had any of those effort problems and confidence problems come into play just yet. And that's where we're going to see something a little bit different on this film versus the Commanders in week 9. But I do want to say and highlight that was a good performance from Deonte Banks in week 2 versus the Commanders. But let's compare and contrast how he looked in week 9 versus the Commanders. Now, if you remember on that first rep, Giants versus Commanders week 2, the Commanders ran a quick slant into the middle of the field to Terry McLaurin when Deonte Banks was matched up one-on-one in man coverage. You're going to get the same thing here. I'm sure many of you remember this play. It's down at the 2-yard line. There's not much yardage that needs to be gained to get into the end zone. And what the Commanders are going to run is that quick slant to Terry McLaurin. Now, the Giants are once again matched up here in man coverage. And that's going to create some issues here because you're going to have one-on-one on the outside with no inside help. I mean, you've got a linebacker ready to blitz. There is no inside zone here to help on any in-breaking routes. So you essentially need to play top-tier man coverage. And Deonte Banks is going to get beat here. They're going to run a little bit of a rub as well. They're going to have this slot guy run this inside slot fade here, and that's going to create a little bit of traffic that Banks needs to fight through. It doesn't really factor into the play. He slows down maybe just a hair right about here when he sees that other slot receiver is coming through, but he doesn't make any contact with him. Essentially, what goes wrong here? Not much goes wrong for Deonte Banks as much as something goes right for Terry McLaurin. McLaurin's got a great release package. He's a really good route runner. He fires his feet and then breaks inside and just bursts for an easy pitch and catch from Jaden Daniels. This is a really tough situation for any cornerback to be in. Yes, you would love to see Deonte Banks maybe get his hands on McLaurin early in this rep. Probably right here, you want to see him jam a McLaurin and take away that inside move, maybe play an inside shade. But he doesn't get there, and McLaurin's able to just run a quick slant and make an easy catch. But this is tough. I mean, your defensive coordinator is asking a lot of your cornerback if he's leaving him on an island one-on-one on the 2-yard line versus Terry McLaurin. So it's not a great rep from Deonte Banks, but at the same time, it's a very difficult situation for him to be in. I think the Giants were banking on this pass rush coming through here as they have a lot of guys getting after the quarterback. It didn't happen, and so it ends up being an easy pitch and catch here for Jaden Daniels, touchdown to Terry McLaurin. Now on this next play, once again, deep line to gain. So the Giants are playing sticks. They're way far back off of the line of scrimmage, playing once again this cover 2 man, where these cornerbacks are about 10 yards off of the receivers that they're facing, just trying to protect the sticks. And you're going to see here, Deonte Banks gets a little bit caught up in protecting the sticks, and he's going to get beat for a deep touchdown on a double move to Terry McLaurin. But let's go ahead and break it down. So you're going to have McLaurin, if you watch how he stems this, very patient release, walks up here, and right here, he's going to make this move to the outside, then bang it inside. This is a post corner route. Poco is what some people like to call it, Pinocchio. They're going to run up here, fake the post, and then hit the corner to that front pylon. And what goes wrong here for Deonte Banks, again, is playing the sticks. This time around, he's going to sit on this, knowing, let's remember last time when Deonte Banks got beat on one of these sticks reps, it was a deep out route for Terry McLaurin, right? This time he's sitting on this deep in route, and he's going to get beat here because McLaurin's going to make that fake to the inside. He's going to jump towards it, and then he tries to do a speed turn and recovery here, but McLaurin has already burst upfield. So he's going to get a quick step on him, and right there at the point of attack, Banks is still there. His recovery was not bad here by any means. He is completely blanketing Terry McLaurin at the point of the catch, but this is the number one weakness in Deonte Banks' game. He doesn't get his head turned around quickly enough. Oftentimes, he gets beat in contested catch situations because he doesn't turn his head around, and that's exactly what happens here. So essentially, breaking down this play one more time, the reason Deonte Banks loses this rep, he's sitting on the sticks. If you compare to the other cornerback opposite side of the field, who's also sitting on the sticks, still is playing deep enough off of the cornerback or the receiver, that when the receiver does get to the sticks, he still has a lot of space between him. If this receiver were to curl this back, let's call it a comeback route, this cornerback is in perfect position to break on it and make a play on the ball or make a tackle short of the sticks. Banks is getting a little too aggressive here, trying to jump this inside route, expecting this backside dig or whatever. He's got his eyes on the quarterback too. He's really trying to jump it, make a play here on the ball and get an interception, and that leaves him vulnerable to now McLaurin can get behind him. So just playing the sticks a little too hard, not cognizant of where the end zone is, and just being a little bit too over aggressive here to try and make an interception. Let's see from this angle once again, as the ball comes in, this is not a ton of separation. This is what, a foot of separation between McLaurin and Banks just doesn't get his head turned around. If Banks turns his head around on this play, look, he gets his hands up just too late. At the last second, he gets his hands up. Now, I'm going to praise Terry McLaurin as well, though, because this is something that we call late hands for a wide receiver. Having late hands prevents the cornerback from being able to read your body and get their hands up to make a play on the ball. McLaurin has very late hands here, which allows him to make this catch and prevent Deonte Banks from actually breaking up this pass. Before Deonte Banks, what you need to do here, he makes that speed recovery, right, and starts breaking to the outside, but his head needs to be turned around by now. His head, while he's in recovery here, tracking McLaurin. McLaurin's looking for the ball. You need to be looking for the ball too, and you got to turn around and make a play on it because Banks is still in good position. He got beat early in this rep on that double move, but he still had an opportunity here to turn around, maybe even get an interception for himself. This is a really well-thrown football and a great play with late hands to make a contested catch for Terry McLaurin. But you see a lot here. This play really encapsulates what went wrong for Deonte Banks last year. He was too aggressive sometimes in coverage. He doesn't get his head turned around, and that's essentially the story of Deonte Banks. It's a combination of over-aggression and poor ball skills that keeps getting him into trouble in contested catch situations like this one. So, and also, he just looks defeated at the end of this rep. I tried to let it run a little bit longer so you can see. He gets up and he's just like, head is down. I cut the video a little too soon, but head was down and he just looked like, man, not again, whatever. I just think he was defeated mentally by like week 5, and that's really what went wrong for Deonte Banks. But hey, last play here. Let's go ahead and roll through this one. This is going to be an incompletion. Once again, pretty good coverage here from Deonte Banks. You're actually going to see a pretty interesting cover one man here from the New York Giants. So they're going to have essentially man coverage across the board. But this one deep defender is going to be playing in that zone coverage. This is a cover 2 zone. My mistake. And you're going to have this receiver coming across the middle. But what's really important here is McLaurin's once again trying to run this backside dig. And as he does, Deonte Banks does a tremendous job here playing that inside leverage and taking away that inside or that in-breaking route. Look at the leverage and shading of Deonte Banks. He is saying you are either going this way or you are forcing an incompletion because you are not able to turn in this way. And as soon as Terry McLaurin tries to, he's going to cut across, and Banks is right there. Really good coverage, and the pass rush does get home on Jaden Daniels, just barely. He gets the throw out, and he's going to bounce past this one to Terry McLaurin. That's going to be an incompletion and a good rep there to recap or to wrap up here for Deonte Banks. So to wrap things up here are the final stats, Deonte Banks versus Terry McLaurin in 2024. This was 8 targets for McLaurin, 5 receptions, 41 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, that sounds pretty ugly, but those 2 touchdowns, one of them one-on-one on an island slant route from the 2-yard line, and then the other one, yes, getting beat on that double move, but both of those coming in the second game. That was about 21 yards there. So in that first game, he only let up 3 receptions for 20 yards. The first game was a really strong performance from Deonte Banks. The second game, we saw him mentally defeated, over-aggressive, and unfortunately beaten by a veteran in Terry McLaurin. But I think we saw a lot of good on the film here for Deonte Banks. He flashed speed, he flashed physicality, aggression, and an ability to read the quarterback. So a lot of positives on this film, but a couple of key negatives that, again, just keep holding Deonte Banks back. But I look at this film generally more positively than negatively and say, hey, going into 2025, I still see the potential and the hope for Deonte Banks to turn into a very good player for the New York Giants. But that's my reading of it. Let me know yours. Drop your thoughts down below in the comment section and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. I will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go New York Giants.